Today, we're going to dig into something absolutely critical to India's farming strategy, the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. We're going to look at how this fund is trying to build that vital bridge between the farm and the market, and why that connection is just so important for our entire rural economy.
So here's how we'll break it down. First, we'll get the big picture on agricultural spending. Then, we'll check out the different tools the government uses to help farmers. After that, we'll pinpoint a major gap after the harvest and introduce the fund designed to fix it. We'll also see how success is actually measured and wrap it all up with why this kind of infrastructure really truly matters. All right, first up, let's just try to get our heads around the massive scale of India's financial commitment to agriculture. It's a huge deal, and understanding these big numbers really helps frame everything else we're about to talk about.
And this image really says it all, doesn't it? We're talking about the men and women, the farmers and fishermen, who are the absolute foundation of our country's food security and rural life. The entire system is really built to support the hard work they do every single day. To put some numbers on that support, just look at this figure. For the 2026-27 budget, we're talking about an allocation of over 1.27 lakh crore rupees for the Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. That is a staggering amount of money, and it just goes to show how central this whole sector is to our national policy. So where does all that money actually go? It's not like it's just one big check. You could think of it more like a toolkit, with lots of different programs, each one designed to solve a specific problem that farmers face. And this policy toolbox idea is actually a really great way to look at it. It shows that the government's approach isn't some one-size-fits-all thing. Because, let's be honest, farming isn't a one-size-fits-all job. It's a whole collection of specialized tools to help with everything from getting a loan to insuring your crops. And here's a peek inside that toolbox. You've got direct income support to help with cash flow, schemes to make credit more affordable, crop insurance to handle the risks, and big projects for overall development. Each one of these is a major pillar of support. But here's the thing. All of these schemes are mainly focused on the production side of farming, helping farmers grow their crops. But that leaves a huge question. What happens after the harvest is in? And this gets us to a really critical point. Having a massive harvest doesn't automatically mean you're going to have a massive income. If your produce spoils on the way to the market, or if you can't store it properly to wait for better prices, so much of that value just disappears. That journey from the farm gate to our dinner plate is where so many of the challenges are. And this brings us right to the heart of what we're talking about today. If the problem is a lack of physical stuff, like warehouses, cold storage, processing units, then how does the government actually help build it? Okay, let's dive into the specific tool that was designed for this exact job, the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, or AIF. This is the government's targeted answer to that whole post-harvest challenge we were just talking about. So here's the official definition. But in plain English, what is it? Well, it's basically a dedicated financing facility. It uses things like interest subvention, which just means the government helps lower the interest rate on loans to make it way cheaper for people to actually invest in the post-harvest infrastructure that farmers so desperately need. And you can see just how important this is becoming by looking at the budget numbers. From 2024 to 2027, there's a clear, steady increase in how much money is being set aside for the AIF. This isn't just a static commitment. It's a growing priority, for sure. But spending money is one thing, and getting results is something else entirely. So how do we actually know if this fund is working? Let's take a look at how they measure its performance. Now, this shows a really important shift in thinking. The focus is moving away from just tracking outlays, which is the money spent, and moving towards monitoring outputs and outcomes. Think of it this way. The output is, say, the number of warehouses you build, but the outcome is the real-world result, like less food waste and more money in a farmer's pocket. It's about measuring what actually changes. This table, which comes straight from the government's own monitoring framework, gives us a super clear picture of the goals. They're tracking not just how much of the fund gets used, but more importantly, how much private investment it pulls in and how many jobs it helps create. These are real, concrete targets. Okay, now this number is the big one. For a government outlay of just over 900 crore rupees, the goal is to leverage or attract 30,000 crore rupees in additional private investment. That is an incredible multiplier effect. It shows the real power of this fund, using a little bit of public money as a spark to unlock massive private investment in rural areas. And here's the human side of it. This isn't just about building things out of concrete and steel. It's about creating livelihoods.
The goal is to generate 18 lakh or 1.8 million rural jobs through the infrastructure that gets built with this fund. That is a truly life-changing outcome. All right, let's move to our final section and really tie this all together, looking at the big takeaway on why this kind of focused investment is just so crucial for the future of Indian agriculture.
At the end of the day, what this all comes down to is that better infrastructure empowers farmers. Simple as that. Things like cold storage and processing plants mean less waste, they give farmers more control over when to sell their produce, and that leads to higher, more stable incomes. It's all about protecting the value of their incredibly hard work.
This quote, it really says it all, doesn't it? A strong, resilient, and profitable agricultural sector is the absolute bedrock of the entire economy. It highlights exactly why strategic investments like this Agriculture Infrastructure Fund aren't just important for farmers, they're important for every single one of us. So, as we wrap up, I'll just leave you with this question to think about. With a framework like the AIF now in place, what comes next? What's the single most important piece of infrastructure our farmers need to thrive? Is it more cold storage, better rural roads, or more local processing facilities? The answer to that is going to define the next big step in agricultural development.